Hey, what's going on, YouTube? Evening. Hope you and friends and loved ones are safe and sound. This is a nobody YouTuber by the name of VergeMan994. And so we're going to be doing something a little different approach here. I'm going to be doing some intellectual stuff, which is imperative and intelligent and educational. We're going to be talking about that time when Ben Affleck was on Bill Maher's show with neuroscientist Dr. Sam Harris, an atheist, a well-respected atheist who's famous like Richard Dawkins and the late Christopher Hitchens. It was about, they were talking about liberal principles, about respecting women's rights, freedom of speech, things like that. So before I continue, if you like more of my content, please leave a like and a sub. I'm just a guy who doesn't make YouTube content. That's all I do. And the debate here gets a little hostile from Ben Affleck's wokeism, and you're going to see what I mean when I upload this video about this exchange that they have, and what Ben Affleck takes concern and problems to what Bill and Sam Harris are saying. So, with all that being said, that's me wasting my oxygen, and let's actually watch what I mean.
Trying to make the case, I think, I have anyway, that liberals need to stand up for liberal principles. This is what I said on last week's show. Obviously, I got a lot of hate for it. But all I'm saying is that liberal principles like freedom of speech, freedom to practice any religion you want without fear of violence, freedom to leave a religion, equality for women, equality for minorities, including homosexuals. These are liberal principles that liberals applaud for. But then when you say in the Muslim world, this is what's lacking, then they get upset.
Yeah. Well, liberals have really failed on the topic of theocracy. They'll criticize white theocracy. They'll criticize Christians. They'll still get agitated over the abortion clinic bombing that happened in 1984. But when you want to talk about the treatment of women and homosexuals and free thinkers and public intellectuals in the Muslim world, I would argue that liberals have failed us. And the crucial point of confusion, thank you.
Thank God you're here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the crucial point of confusion is that we have been sold this meme of Islamophobia, where every criticism of the doctrine of Islam gets conflated with bigotry toward Muslims as people.
Right.
And that is,
I just made a mistake there. So what Professor Harris is saying, Islamophobia, he didn't say Islamophobia is not a real thing. I do argue that after the legacy of President Trump, that there's been a lot of Islamophobic attacks on Muslims as well, like arsoning mosques and spray painting. I don't need statistics to do that. I've heard the news, and they're not lying. So this is all incredulous. But in all good fairness to him, he made a good point about Islamophobia. And yeah, Islamophobia does exist, and it's been existing ever since either 9/11. Sheikh Osama bin Laden, let's be honest, he alienated Muslims global wide, because democracies like Denmark, Sweden, the UK, Spain, France, Australia, I don't know about Brazil, but Canada and the United States have profiled Muslim citizens at airports, things like that. So there's also attacks on Hindus and this other minority group called Sikhs, Sikh men who wear the turban. And they've been confused as Muslims, and have been attacked viciously by bigoted people, mostly white people, I think, or just people who are in fear of Muslims, that they're going to strap a bomb on themselves and blow themselves up. So that is a problem. Okay, so I just want to give the disclaimer that that's a problem. I'm also to give the disclaimer that I do not hate Ben Affleck or Sam Harris in any way, shape, or form. I just think they disagree on this one issue about liberal values and how Islam as a religion, as a culture, should have progressed as well. But I don't agree with what Ben Affleck is going to say right now. Let's continue.
So hold on, are you the person who understands the officially codified doctrine of Islam? You're the interpreter of that, so you can say, well, this is...
I'm actually well educated on this topic.
I'm asking you. So you're saying, if I criticize you're saying that Islamophobia is not a real thing?
That is not what he said, Ben. That is not what he said. So right away, he's strawmanning Professor Harris. Right away, he's strawman. And he's saying that Islamophobia is not a real thing. He didn't say that. He said that Islamophobia is hyperbole. And it is. Okay? It is hyperbole. Okay? Despite all these attacks on, random, ordinary American Muslims who contribute to elections, who eat take care of their families, take care of their children, contribute to the Republican or the Democrat Party process, and love their country. They don't want anything to do with ISIS or Al-Shabaab or who the fuck is al-Nusra, for God's sakes. But Ben is already triggered, and he's already putting words in Dr. Harris's mouth. I don't know why he's doing that. I don't know what in the world makes a Hollywood wealthy white guy the education or like the authority on a religious debate.
If you're critical of something...
Well, it's not a real thing when we do it.
Right.
well, no,
it really isn't.
I'm not denying that certain people are bigoted against Muslims as people. And that's a
That's
problem.
Big of you.
But
why are you so hostile about this concept?
It's gross. It's racist.
It's not. But it's so not.
It's like saying those
You're
shifty Jew.
You're not listening
Absolutely
to
not.
what we are saying.
You guys are saying if you want to be...
Can someone enlighten Ben Affleck that Islam is not a race? Muslims are not a race at the background at all. Race is inevitable. Muslim is a choice. Okay, so anyone who thinks that that's minor cherry picking is an argument from ignorance. Okay, so the moment you think that you conflate Islam with a race, immediately you lost the debate because you have nothing constructive or productive to contribute to it.
Listening
Absolutely
to
not.
what we are saying.
You guys are saying if you want to be liberals, believe in liberal principles like freedom of speech, like we are endowed by our forefathers with inalienable rights, like all men are created equal.
Ben, we have to be able to criticize bad ideas. And
of course we do. No liberal doesn't want to criticize bad ideas.
But Islam at this moment is the mother lode of bad ideas.
Jesus.
So we have
That's just a fact.
like blasphemy.
It is
an ugly thing.
Apostasy.
It is
One basic liberal
let me
principle
unpack
is
it.
tolerance.
So I don't necessarily agree with Professor Harris either, which is why I think they got him some serious fire, because he was basically heated because Ben actually got on his nerves, and actually they're not even arguing; they're more like throwing vicious slurs at each other and fighting at each other, basically. And that's why I don't agree that Islam is a mother load of bad ideas. If you told me that one Catholic religion, if you told me that one religion was actually the symbol of evil, Christopher Hitchens, in his own words, probably said it would be the Catholic Church, because Catholicism was used by Nazi Germany to exterminate 20 million people, namely 6 million Jews. And Christians have done terrible things like colonialism in Australia and Canada, and imperialism in India, and African colonization. So I don't really agree with that Islam is a mother of bad ideas. But I get what he's saying. There's a distinction between the religion and Muslims as human beings who practice and follow that faith. Big distinction. Let's continue.
Let me unpack it.
But not for intolerance.
No, of course not. But the picture you're painting is, to some extent, true, but is hugely incomplete. It is certainly true that plenty of fanatics and jihadis are Muslim, but the people who are standing up to them, Malala, incredible Muhammad Ali Dadak in Iran, in prison for 9 years for speaking up for Christians. A friend that I had in Pakistan who was shot this year, Rashid Rahman, for defending people accused of apostasy.
Or how about the more than 1 billion people who aren't fanatical, who don't punish women, who just want to go to the store,
wait a second.
Sandwiches,
Wait a second.
25 times a day,
Wait a
don't do
second.
any of the things, but you're saying all Muslims.
Wait.
Stereotyping.
I'm not saying all Muslims.
So again, he's just shouting over Professor Harris, and this is just bullshit. I'm just going to continue to unload on Ben Affleck. The guy is absolutely ridiculous and ludicrous, and he's a moron, and he has problems in his own personal life about racism and a legacy that his family contributed to slavery or racism in that regard. I don't know all the details, but there's shady things. But Sam Harris never said all Muslims. Okay, you can say Islam all you want to, but that's not defaming all Muslims at all. I don't know why he's putting words in his mouth. I don't know why Ben Affleck, liberals like him, straw man the argument when it's not at all what they said. Let's continue.
You said things, and you're painting the whole group religion with that.
Let's get down to who has the right answer here. 1 billion people, you say. All these billion people don't hold any of these...
5 or something.
Don't hold these pernicious beliefs?
No,
I would...
Well, they don't.
That's just not true, Ben. That's just not true.
Can I just express how I think it breaks down?
The idea,
you haven't even defined
you're trying to say that these few people, that's all the problem is, these few bad apples. The idea that someone should be killed if they leave the Islamic...
That's horrible. That should...
Wait, you're saying that the idea that
Islam.
someone should be killed if they leave the Islamic religion is just a few bad apples?
The people who would actually believe and enact that you murder somebody if they leave Islam is not the majority of Muslims at all.
Okay, let me break this down for you. Okay, we have, as you say, we have 1.5, 1.6 billion Muslims. Now,
second biggest religion in the world, a quarter.
Well,
Ben, let me unpack this. Let me unpack this for you.
Please do.
We have just imagine some concentric circles here. You have at the center.
Ben Affleck is a certified clown. I can't believe Batman is actually rationing in moralistic religions and moralistic lectures about Islam from a white guy from Hollywood, a wealthy man who has so much access to many things and other hot women that a lot of normal guys forget Muslim or religion don't have access to. Oh man, the irony is crazy, man. I mean, it's great. It's just such disingenuous. I mean, the absurdity is overwhelming. The absurdity is ridiculous. I don't understand why Ben Affleck even has a platform at all to be talking about this in policy exchange. He's not actually defending Muslims, okay? He's not defending Muslims at all. He's not carrying water for the religion. And I don't proclaim to either, but I'm not proclaiming to be actually this robust defense of Muslim people whom, majority of them you have never met or don't know what they're actually thinking, what they want to do, or how they want to practice or deliver their life, and how they conduct themselves. I don't know how in the world this is just so ridiculous, man. It's just not just a full-fledged buffoon in Ben Affleck. Let's just keep playing.
You have jihadists. These are people who wake up in the morning wanting to kill apostates, wanting to die trying. They believe in paradise. They believe in martyrdom. Outside of them, we have Islamists. These are people who are just as convinced of martyrdom and paradise and wanting to foist their religion on the rest of humanity, but they want to work within the system. They're not going to blow themselves up on a bus. They want to change governments. They want to use democracy against itself. Those two circles arguably are 20% of the Muslim world. Okay, this is not the fringe of the fringe.
That research on?
A bunch of poll results that we can talk about.
To
give you one point of contact, 78% of British Muslims think that the Danish cartoonist should have been prosecuted. 78%. So I'm being conservative when I roll this back to 20%. But outside of that circle, you have conservative Muslims who can honestly look at ISIS and say that does not represent us, that we're horrified by that, but they hold views about human rights and about women, about homosexuals that are deeply troubling. So these are not Islamists, they're not jihadists, but they both...
Those views are anathema to ours.
But they also keep women and homosexuals immiserated in these cultures, and we have to empower the true reformers in the Muslim world to change it. And lying about the link between doctrine and behavior is not going to do that.
The Great Divide... The Great Divide is not between Islam and the rest. It's rather between the fundamentalists and the moderates in each faith.
Okay, but we're misled to think that the fundamentalists are the fringe. Okay, we have jihadists, Islamists, and conservatives.
And by the way,
there's hundreds of millions of people fit that description.
You're saying that the strongest voices are coming from those who are jihadists and extremists.
And conservatives.
But still, he's a neutralist. I like that. He's having neutral ground. He doesn't want to get into this bickering idiocy between Ben Affleck and Professor Harris. But the reason why white guys, especially liberals like Ben Affleck, say that there's only a few bad apples or minority in Islam, which they are, legitimately, we acknowledge that. But the reason why it's so easy to say that is because they're not physically a threat to you. Just because you don't walk down the Beltway on I-96 or I-95, and there's no roadside bombs like in Fallujah, like in Baghdad, by IEDs and ISIS, or say Al-Shabaab, suicide bombers, doesn't mean that they're not killing vast number of people in these atrocities, Ben. Doesn't mean that it's not a serious problem, that you keep neglecting, and you keep on dismissing. And you're just strawmanning Professor Sam Harris, and you're strawmanning Professor Sam Harris in his literature and his research and you're just completely deflecting from the actual problem and thinking that it's not a big deal whatsoever. Okay, you keep belittling it like it is, and not only that you just dismiss it, but you strawman and say that everyone just is merely Islamophobic. The moment you say that the Islamic republics of the governments of Saudi Arabia or the Islamic Republic of Iran hang gay people from tank barrels or behead people for standing up for human rights and gendered people, immediately when you call that out, we're being Islamophobic, we're being ridiculous, we're being bigots. Immediately, yeah, and just completely defaming and defamatory and just outright lying and just about the whole situation, just outright lying about the serious implications and how an imperative problem that needs an imperative solution from Muslims, not from non-Muslims. Muslims have to debate this and have to tackle these issues that conflict with them because they have powerful regimes that try to silence them, like Jamal Khashoggi, who have powerful elites that will persecute their own people if they actually revolt for that. Okay, not too recently, women just got the right to drive in Saudi Arabia recently, throughout the years, before they weren't allowed to drive. Okay. Anyway, enough of me talking. Let's get back to the program.
It's a bigger piece of the pie than we often think is true.
There's no question.
Okay, so having said that, and even if that is true statistically or otherwise, the key thing to recognize that I don't think is part of the argument, but I think should be, is that there are voices that are oftentimes raised in opposition to these jihadists and to these extreme acts. But guess what? They don't get covered. They don't get exposed. And they're not given the same level of platform that we see the jihadists.
One reason they don't get exposed is because they're afraid to speak out because it's the only religion that acts like the mafia that will fucking kill you if you say the wrong thing, draw the wrong picture, or write the wrong book.
So you do have,
Yeah, Bill Maher is just having fun with this. I don't know why he says the mafia. That's necessarily true. The action of Sicilian mafia had little to do with Christianity, and the FBI did profile Italians because of what they did and Al Capone and that history. But that's a whole other can of worms that we don't need to talk about.
The reason why Ayaan Hirsi Ali needs bodyguards 24/7.
You do have that element of fear as well, but you also have other braver souls out there who do speak out and who who
are risking their lives to do that.
Like the Muslim clerics and others from Australia to Europe to the United States just recently publicly put their names on paper declaring their opposition to what ISIS and others are doing. There are those voices, but where was the coverage? Where was that story to sort of create a different picture?
What is your solution? What is your ask? Just condemn Islam?
The solution, the solution is very much what
we've killed more Muslims than they've killed us by an awful lot. We've invaded more Muslims.
I am not for more killing.
Again with the straw man. When is this guy going to give it a break? No one ever suggested that we should actually continue to invade mostly Muslim majority countries, if you can even call them that. Countries are just land masses on this planet that humans just occupy. That's just how that is. That's just how that works. That takes care of that problem. But to actually suggest that we invade more countries, who would ever advocate for that? We all know that American foreign policy has damaged so many countries irreversibly, especially Iraq and the chain reaction of Syria, Tunisia, Morocco, Libya, for example, killing Gaddafi and things like that. We know American foreign policy has damaged the Iraq war, Iraqis, and after killing Saddam, and basically gave the birth to ISIS because the vacuum that the United States left behind when they withdrew recklessly.
Yet somehow we're exempted from these things because they're not really a reflection of what we believe in. We did by accident. That's why we invaded Iraq and put 4 million people.
We're not convincing anybody.
It's not I'm specifically telling you that I disagree with what you from these things because they're not really a reflection of what we believe in. We did by accident. That's why we invaded Iraq and put 4 million people.
We're not convincing anybody.
It's not I'm specifically telling you that I disagree with what you think.
I know, and we're obviously not convincing anybody of the
If you don't understand my argument,
your argument is like, black people, they show each other.
That is not my argument.
No, it's not. It's based on facts. I can show you a Pew poll of a.
Now you stand on the graves of blacks and black on black crime and police brutality. I swear to God, man. Ben. This guy. This is why Hollywood cannot be taken seriously. And this is why it's a distraction. Hollywood is nothing but a distraction, man. You guys are all living in this glass ceiling with all your wealth. You don't do shit for anyone else but yourselves.
They are not outliers in the Muslim world that say like 90% of them believe death is the appropriate response to leaving the religion. If 90% of Brazilians thought that death was the appropriate response to leaving Catholicism, you would think it was a bigger deal.
I would think it's a big deal no matter what.
Okay, but that's the fact.
But what I wouldn't do is say it's all Brazilians, or I wouldn't say, well, Ted Bundy did this. God damn, these gays are all trying to eat each other. You know?
Yeah, okay, let me just give you what you want.
Now, you're just losing brain cells just listening to Ben. No one knows what the hell this guy's on about.
There are hundreds of millions of Muslims who are nominal Muslims, who don't take the faith seriously, who don't want to kill apostates, who are horrified by ISIS, and we need to defend these people, prop them up, and let them reform.
Dude, you're talking ISIS couldn't fill a AA ballpark in Charleston, West Virginia, and you were making a career out of ISIS.
But no, it's not just ISIS. It's all jihadists. It's global. It's a phenomenon of global jihad.
I think that's the opposite.
There is those things. There's ISIS. There's global jihadists. The question is the degree to which you're willing to say, because I've witnessed this behavior, which we all object to on the part of these people, I'm willing to flatly condemn those of you I don't know and have never met.
No,
this is
not
based
condemning
on
people. It's ideas. You've got to make
and people who believe in those ideas.
So it's those people who believe in
based on reality, Ben. We're not making it up.
It's not condemning people. It's ideas. You've got to make
and people who believe in those ideas.
So it's those people who believe
based on reality, Ben. We're not making it up. That in the Muslim world, it is mainstream.
I want to correct. I mean, just because they're not using, specific details doesn't mean we don't get what they're saying. There's no such thing as a Muslim world. It's only one world that we live in. We all occupy. We all have to figure out a way to coexist. We just have differences in how we should approach to do that. Okay? There's imperialism. For example, Turkey, the Islamic Republic of Turkey, invaded the island of Cyprus in 1974. Granted, to protect the ethnic cleansing of the Turkish Cypriots from the Greeks. That's neither here nor there, but I'm just saying. Okay? There's only one world that we all occupy. Same thing with Israel, the settlements in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. Okay, which we all disagree with, but that's neither here nor there. That's a different topic.
Belief.
But this is such a caricature of Indonesia, of Malaysia, so much of the world. And this does have the tinge a little bit of the way white racists talk about African Americans and define blacks by.
But what you're saying is because they are a minority, we shouldn't make.
What's so weird about that is that that's another white apologist from the New York Times. I forgot his name. What was it?
We shouldn't criticize
that much of a little bit of the way white racists talk about African Americans and define blacks.
Nicholas Kristof, author of Path Appears. And I don't get more than Nicholas Kristof is actually making an equivalence, just like Ben Affleck, between Muslims and a race, which are not the same at all, and that's just completely caricature, and just completely lose debates when you can't make that simple distinction, which is imperative. You gotta acknowledge that first before you actually debate the debate. You cannot get over that distinction. They're not the same. Okay, religion is by choice. Even if you live in a ridiculously religious, strict family, that is not the same thing as your race, which is biologically something that you cannot change, unless you're Michael Jackson.
What you're saying is because they are a minority, we shouldn't criticize.
It's not that much of a minority. It's the second biggest religion in the world.
Exactly, but you're.
So I'm not going to do any more on this. The rest of this is going to be a tangent about nothing. And I do not care much about hating for Ben Affleck because he shows his true colors of being a moron completely on this issue, and that's why you cannot take anything from him genuine. I don't really care much for his family. He's an adulterer. He's a gambler. He's all these things that Muslims and the Islamic religion consider haram. So your personal life can't be detached from this. I don't know why in the way he cheated on only a true asshole. Only a true asshole would cheat on Jennifer Garner. Jennifer Garner, okay? So, I mean, I don't mean to get personal with the guy, but this is ridiculous, okay? This is absolutely ludicrous. Listen to Ben Affleck, man, because he's done a lot of things that he defends Muslims, and he's thinking about he's carrying water for the people, but he's actually doing more harm than Muslims than ISIS ever could. He's doing more damage to Muslims than actually, he's doing the very opposite that the people whom he claims to be supporting and defending at the same time. He's done gambling, smokes a lot of drug, alcoholism, and idolatry. All of these are haram in Islam. But anyway, this has been VergeMan994. What do you guys think about the debate? Who do you think was wrong, who was right, and who can be more neutral, and what could have been done to actually bring some common ground between both sides? Because it's not about Democrat or Republican. It's not about right or left. It's not about conservative or liberalism. It is about a ridiculously heinous and dangerous disease and jihad, and needs an actual solution that we all have to contribute and pitch in. That's what it boils down to. So what do you guys think? Anyway, so all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope I don't get copyrighted, dumbass YouTube. But you know, you guys tell me who you think was right and wrong. Please tell me. All right. And you like more from my content, leave a like and a sub, and tell me where I can improve. I got my game system back. I'm happy about that. So, with that being said, VergeMan994 will bounce.